Hi, my name's Hannah Ajikawo, and I like to talk about go-to-market stuff. I love breaking down the barriers that exist between sales processes and buying journeys, taking complex things and breaking them down into digestible chunks that you can actually take action on immediately. So if it sounds like something that you can get value from, then definitely subscribe. And if you like it, then like it, comment, and share with the world. Let's get into the next topic. The consideration stage is not just for marketers. So let me show you how you can get your entire revenue team aligned to support buyers that are at this stage in their journey. Before you start watching this video, have you seen the awareness video? If not, go back to that video on awareness, learn about what that means in the context of your revenue team and a prospect in their buying journey, and then hurry on back to this video where we're going to jump into the consideration stage. So let's go through what it means to come into the consideration stage. Now, a prospect awareness has been raised regarding an issue, challenge, or opportunity that resonates with them based on the context that they're in. So they're now aware, they're enlightened, the light bulb has gone off, and they're like, I get it, it makes sense. Now, if this makes sense in relation to their critical priorities, their company objectives, they start to consider the options that are in front of them. So during the consideration stage, they're going through the motions of taking thoughtful decision-making actions around how each option that's available to them can help them move the needle towards their desired outcome. So in order for a buyer to be at this stage, they need to have things to consider, options, things that they can compare. If they don't have those things, then they're not really at this stage. They've just had their awareness raised. They're like, okay. But if they're not proactively or at least reactively starting to be responsive to things that allow them to consider how they can approach this, then they're not in this stage. So really think about what that means in your organization. What are the signs that show that a company, a prospect, is thinking through solutions, thinking through how they can solve for something that is going to help them meet their desired outcomes? All right, so let's unwrap all of this and get into some of the detail. Let's get into the meat. Now, what exactly is a prospect considering? So there's a few ways to start to think through this. Now, the biggest thing is when awareness is raised for a prospect, the first thing they do is they chase down the path of least resistance. So yes, they're going to go online and start doing some searching, but even before that, they're going to send messages internally to say, hey, here's something that I've just become aware of. Who can do this? Who internally can look at this? Who internally can solve this? How big of a problem is it for us? And what kind of options do we have internally to solve for that? What people, resources, tools, expertise, objects, things can we use to solve for this issue, challenge, or opportunity that will get us one step closer to our desired outcome? That is the first thing they're going to do. Even if you as an organization externally have been the main participant in raising their awareness, they're like, sounds great, salesperson, sounds great, marketing campaign, thanks for that. Now I'm going to look like the superhero internally because I'm going to be the trailblazer, the change maker that starts to solve for it without spending anything and with the least path of resistance. So that's the first thing. Now the other thing is they're going to start to look at options that may not relate directly to what you do. So let me give you an example. If you are a company that has a software solution that solves a marketing problem, or maybe it solves a problem that goes horizontal across an organization, like an ERP solution, right? So that's enterprise resource planning, big tech solutions. Now, they're going to look at other things that can still help them solve with resource planning, but may not be an ERP. That may mean outsourcing. That may mean spreadsheets. That may mean building up the team so there's more people to do the tasks and stuff that's required for planning. That means that there's a different type of option. So let's say you go into a restaurant and you're hungry, okay? That's your desired outcome to solve for your starvation, right? Or your hunger. You could have a smoothie, that would be quite filling. You could have a meal, that could be quite filling. You might just choose to have water to get the feeling of being full. Those are completely different options. It's not like I'm going to have meat, so I'm going to think of a lamb or steak. Sorry, you can tell I'm quite hungry. It's my post-gym session. Now, think about that, because at that consideration stage, your role as a revenue team is to say, out of all the options that are available to you, prospect, our solution, our service is the one that's going to be the most beneficial to you. It's going to get you there the fastest. Now, hold that thought, because one thing that I see teams get wrong is figuring out what are the actual things that a company is actually considering. How does that come into play? So let's take one option. Let's just take the software solution as an example. There's 4 main ways that a company looks at this. They may not know it, but it usually falls into 4 buckets. How much time is it going to take for us to move towards our desired outcome? How much money do I need to spend? How much resources is it going to take outside of the main thing? And how much effort, mental effort and change management is it going to take for us to use this option that we're considering to move us towards our desired outcome? And they look at all of those options and look at all of those different things. So resources may mean systems. And how do we start to see the signs that someone's at this stage? Well, we see things like RFIs. We see things like that's a request for information. We see things like people requesting price. We see things like people signing up for demos, because they're trying to consider how this fits into their space. How does this fit into our world? And to be honest, most companies are still figuring out, like, do we have a consensus on this issue, challenge, or opportunity? And they're trying to balance that, considering how it can be solved with considering if it's actually important enough based on all of the broader company priorities. So that also creates confusion for us as revenue teams. So we have to look at the very small signs. At this consideration stage, do we truly believe they're there? And what are the signs that we're looking for, so we know then what we need to do to facilitate that? All right, lots to unpack here, but let's break down the real key things. First thing, how do we know that they're at the consideration stage? Really easy. They are looking at things around time, effort, resources, and money that indicate that they're trying to generate an understanding of how this option can help support them towards a desired outcome. That's the first critical sign. That's going to look like requests for more information on your product. It might mean documentation. It might mean free trials. Things that indicate that they need to see something. They need to really see how this all works. They may even ask for a discovery meeting. They know what's going to happen. They want to unpack that. They want to discover you and see how you can support them with that. So that's the first thing. Now, knowing that they need to look at time, effort, resources, and money and the spend, what can you do as a revenue team? Well, really early on is we need to locate them. We need to figure out if, where they are in doing all of this comparison. We need to ensure they're comparing. Now, companies are not always comfortable with this, but if I'm going to consider something, the best way for me to do that, just based on human nature, is to compare it against something. Yes, that might be the status quo, but if the status quo is your competition in this scenario, then what can you do to understand how far they are in walking through how they're assessing the status quo? Have they looked at time, effort, resources, money? Get them and help them to think that through. So we need to be developing tools, assets, resources, environments that allows companies at this stage to compare those 4 components of consideration: time, effort, resources, and money, inside the environments that they are operating in. Because they do a lot of that without us. As we said, if you go back to my video on where buyers are spending their time, 60 to 70% is not with us. So that awareness and consideration stage often happens without us being involved. All right, lots to take in, but let's bring it all back. Okay, the consideration stage is not just for marketing. Please do not miss out on higher deal values and better relationships with prospects by ignoring the things that they need in order to make better informed, confident decisions that don't make them fear messing up. All right, I'll see you in the next video, where we're going to go through the 3rd stage in a buying journey that looks like making a decision. You're going to love that one.